What's going on, YouTube family? We're going to be talking about some of the biggest mistakes I made while buying cars at Copart. So at the end of the day, nobody's perfect, especially when you're buying cars at this type of volume, because you're going to make mistakes. And if you've ever met somebody that says they never lost money on a car, they're completely lying to you. So I'm going to go over some of my biggest mistakes and hopefully show you guys how not to lose money on some of these deals. So back in the day, if you wanted to buy a car at Copart, a lot of times you could go to that location and do live bidding right there on the spot. And that's exactly what I used to do. So this story starts off with me going to my local location here in Las Vegas, and I was walking through the lot, and basically what happens is all the cars are lined up, and they have a U-Haul truck where they drive through with somebody on an announcer speaker saying, hey, this car's up for auction, starting bid is whatever, and they just kind of bid it off from there. And we happened to drive by a Saturn Sky Redline. Pretty nice. It was all black, red leather interior, had 60,000 miles. But didn't look that bad. The front bumper was damaged, and I think the fender had a crack and some other stuff. But they started the bid at $8,000. Nobody bid. Once again, dropped it down to $5,000. Then dropped it down to $3,000. I bid $3,000. Another guy went back and forth with me, and then I ended up winning the car for $3,500. At that moment, I was like, wow, I won the Saturn Sky. It's got low miles. It's a cool little sports car. This is going to be a great seller. And at that time, back then, I think they were selling for somewhere around $12,000 to $14,000. So I thought I had a home run. So I got the car cleaned up, drove it straight home, and started looking for parts. I called LKQ, which is my major junkyard, asked them if they had any parts for the car, the bumper and the fender. They said no. I called all the junkyards here in Vegas. Nobody had it. Then I went to eBay. Tried to find like a bumper and the fender for it. Couldn't find anything. Wound up calling a few of my reps out of the state, and nobody had parts for this thing. Come to find out, the parts for this car are almost impossible to find unless you find another wrecked one. And at that time, it was still a newer car, and they weren't really getting parted out. So I waited for over a year to get the parts for that car. And since then, it cost me so much money and time lost, along with the car sitting there for so long, that when we finally got it running again and all the parts on it, we had to do other services, replace a bunch of seals. So at the end of the day, even though you think you could see a good car and it's a great deal, always do your research and due diligence, because you're going to see a lot of my problems came from me, spontaneously buying something without doing the research. Now, back then, buying online wasn't a real big deal. Everyone mostly did it in person. But nowadays, 90% of everything is online. So you can take your time and do the research before you start bidding. So let's talk about my next epic fail. So there was a local Lexus Toyota shop that went bankrupt, and they took all of their cars and took them to auction and put them up for sale. So as I was down there at Copart looking at these cars, they were all nice Toyotas and Lexuses. Now, the reason why I'm so excited about those is because anybody that's a dealer watching this knows that you can never get clean Toyotas or Lexuses because people pay all the money for them. And I had 12 of these things sitting right in front of me. So I started bidding them up. There was like 5 other guys that were fighting with me. I ended up winning all 12 of the vehicles. I lucked out. Now, unfortunately, none of the 12 had keys, but I wasn't worried about it. Toyota keys are not that expensive. So I towed them all back to my shop, called my locksmith, told him to meet me down there. I'm bringing a bunch of cars. So once he walked up, he asked me, what cars are these for? I'm like, it's for these Lexuses and Toyotas. And he starts laughing. And I'm like, what are you laughing about? He's like, well, I hope that they still have slots in the computer. And I'm like, well, what do you mean by slots in the computer? So he begins to tell me that if a car has too many keys made for it, the slots will get filled up by the computer. And if the computer has no more slots, you not only have to replace the key, but you have to replace the computer as well. And this could be anywhere from $1,300 to $1,800 per car. So I figured, okay, I'm probably going to lose 1 or 2 of those. Nope. Every single car that I bought had that exact problem. So I winded up keeping 2 or 3 of the cars that I thought that I could either make money on or break even, which I wound up losing money on all of them. And the rest of the cars I took back to the auction just to get rid of them, because I had no idea that some of the earlier, like 99s to early 2000s Toyotas and Lexuses have that type of feature. Now, a lot of the stuff you're going to see, if you don't know the exact problems on makes and models, you can fall into a lot of headache. This is why I tell people, stay in your lane. If you're, your daily driver's a Honda Civic and you're familiar with Honda Civics, keep to that car. But unfortunately with me, I'm always trying to buy multiple cars at multiple times, and I've never ran into that problem. And unfortunately, that's why all those cars were left at that shop, because nobody wanted to replace those parts. So my next epic fail could have costed me an insane amount of money, but luckily I was able to very narrowly pull out of it. But before I get into that, I want to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, Revenue. If you're a small business owner and you're looking for a line of credit, I know traditional banks don't want to work with you guys. It's hard to get anything, and especially if right now you have your credit cards maxed out because you're trying to keep your operating capital going and expand your business. This bank is not like that. Revenue goes off of your business bank statements to help you get the lines of credit you need. So if you're looking at expanding your business, whether you want to hire more people, get more tools, or just having operating capital, I've been using Revenue for over 2 years now. I got a handful of my subscribers signed up for it. It's a great bank. Anytime I want to go out and buy cars, buy parts, I can talk to them. And every 6 months, I basically ask for an increase. As long as you're doing everything correctly, more than likely they will oblige with you. So I definitely want to say this. One of my subscribers just got a $500,000 line of credit. So if you're watching this, make sure you chime in the comment section, or if you want to message me directly to Instagram, I'd like to congratulate you and just find out more about your business, because I think that's awesome. But that's the reason why I like Revenue. They work with all types of businesses: automotive, construction, commercial, real estate. I mean, anything you possibly think of, they will work with you. So make sure you check them out, link description below. Like I said, all it takes is about 15 minutes. So I definitely recommend applying for a line of credit before you need it, because there's always going to be an opportunity around the corner where somebody's going to present to you something that you really need. And if you have the capital, you can go ahead and get that deal. I do it all the time. I always like to have a few bucks around. So if I get a great deal on a car, I can go ahead and hop on it. Or if I need to pay my new videographer, I can do all those things. So make sure you check out Revenue. Thank them for sponsoring the video, and let's get back into it. So I was walking through the Copart lot and I saw a black Bentley Continental GT. It looked very clean, only had about 15,000 miles. And so when I asked the lot guy about it, he said that that car has been there for over 3 months. It's ran 3 times and hasn't gotten a single bid. Nobody wants it. And I asked them why, and they said, well, they said the motor's bad or something. It has a head gasket issue, and they took it into Bentley, and Bank of America said that the quote was $30,000 to repair. And they actually disclosed this on the auction. So I thought this was great. I'm like, great, nobody from out of town is going to get it. There's only a handful of people like me that work on these cars locally, so I'm going to bid on it. So after he told me that, I decided to stay there until the auction started to see if I can bid on this car. Now, once it got to the Bentley, nobody was bidding. They started the bid off at $65,000. Nobody bid. They dropped it down to 50, nothing. 40, nothing. 30, nothing. $25,000. I raised my hand. Next thing you know, nobody else bid. They put me on what's called an if call, which means they're going to check with the seller to buy it. And I'm like, okay, they're going to come back at probably 50,000 or 35,000 or something, somewhere in between there. And at that time, that was extremely cheap for Bentley Continental GT, because now you can see these things everywhere because everybody knows they're a pain in the ass to work on. But I was so excited. I'm like, wow, this is going to be my very first super car. I was super excited. And guess what? I won the actual auction. My friend called me and said, I won the car. I was super excited. So I took my trailer and drove straight down to there. I picked up the car, drove back to my shop, and I did not sleep that night. I spent my time doing all the tests. I did a cylinder leak down and a compression test. I found the issue was on the actual passenger side. I think it's second bank. So I ended up taking off the head, ripping off the front end of the car. I cleaned everything. Like I said, I did not even go to bed. Right around 4 a.m. in the morning, I finally had the head off, and I drove directly to my machinist. I dropped off the head. I was super excited. I drove right to Bentley, and I was sitting in that parking lot for 2 hours before the parts department opened up. I went there. I was like, I need spark plugs. I need oil filter, air filter, and I also need a head gasket. And at that time, he's like, oh, well, we don't have a head gasket. I'm like, okay, well, how about a head gasket kit? And he's like, we don't sell a head gasket kit. I'm like, well, where do I get the parts to replace the head gasket? And he tells me, oh, you don't, because we don't sell the head gasket kit for it. The only thing we can do is offer you a replacement motor. And that's when I knew that I absolutely messed up. There was nothing like this online or on the internet back in the day. And so now I'm totally freaked out. I got this car that I spent 25 grand on, which to me was a lot of money back then in 2010, and I had no way of fixing the car. So I decided to reach out to a few people that I know that specialized in aftermarket gaskets for race engines. So I told them, hey, I have a Bentley Continental GT. It's a V12. I have a head gasket here, a used one. Can I send it to you? And how much would you charge me to make it? And some of the quotes I were getting was absolutely ridiculous. $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. And I'm like, there's no way I'm paying $10,000 or $20,000 for a gasket. So I decided to go ahead and rethink it. So as I was sitting there in my shop staring at this very simplistic gasket, I realized that I was like, you know what? This is 2 VR6 motors put together. It's a Volkswagen product. So I started staring at it, and then I started calling all these places back from my actual business phone instead of my cell phone. And I told them that I have a Volkswagen that's from Europe that has a VR6. It's a rare model, but I can't get the head gasket here. Can they make it for me? And I'm not even joking. Everybody completely changed their prices. I had 4 or 5 companies saying, no problem. It'll cost us like $400 or $500 to make this gasket. So I ended up finding a guy in Texas that not only made me the gasket for that, but also sent me 3 more for the price of $1,000, which was a great deal. And so now I had an extra kit just in case if I ever ran into this problem again. I put the head gasket down, torqued it all down, did everything correctly, and I thought this was going to be my very first supercar. I was excited. Drove it up and down the street, had a great time in it, but I thought about it, I was like, you know what? This is not factory grade. It's probably going to have a problem. I'm just going to take it to auction. So I cleaned it up really nice. I took it to auction. I could have sold it for a lot more, but unfortunately 2010, if you guys remember, wasn't a really great year. A lot of people were broke. So I sold it. I made a few dollars, but nothing close to what I could have. Well, come to find out 2 years later, my buddy was the one that ended up buying it. And it was his daily driver. He's been putting miles on that thing for almost a decade now. He still has it today. That car has over 120,000 miles and he just drives the hell out of it. And I'm thinking, I could have kept it. I could have drove it. That could have been my car. But at the end of the day, I didn't know that you couldn't get the parts for this. So this is one of those things you got to do the research and find out if this is the right car for you and can you get the parts for it. Now for my biggest mistake. This one's pretty hilarious. Just like the last one, I was walking down the aisles of Copart here in Las Vegas, and when there's a car that's running and driving, they will actually start it and they will drive it through the lane where we're basically sitting. Well, I'm sitting there because I came to bid on a Ford Lightning, and all of a sudden they drive up this Lamborghini Gallardo 6-speed manual. It was beautiful orange, had black leather interior, and when they pulled up, they revved it 2-3 times, and they started the bidding at $100,000. I was just sitting there. I think this was back in probably 2011. So this was after the Bentley. And I was just sitting there watching the car. And I'm like, wow, this is a beautiful car. And hopefully, maybe I'll be able to get something like that one day. And nobody bid on it at 100. It dropped down to 90, 80, 70, all the way down to $60,000. So I ended up raising my hand at $60,000, thinking that I'll never get this car. They'll probably just call me afterwards and say that the customer wants $100,000. Well, 2 hours later, I get a call saying, hey, congratulations, you own that Lamborghini for only $60,000. Now, back then, that particular car was still worth about $120,000. I was ecstatic. I'm like, this thing runs and drives? They're like, yeah, it runs and drives. So I literally went down there and looked at the car, started it up, drove it around the parking lot, and everything was perfect. But the problem is I didn't have all the money. So I winded up going back. I sold one of my cars to my buddies. I talked to my credit line, asked them if I can get more money. I got it, and then I was able to purchase the car, thankfully, within 2 days. After I did that, I got the car, I drove back, I was super excited. My whole goal was to clean this thing up and make this my new daily driver. This was like the gift to myself. And so for the last 2 weeks I was driving it, I was super excited. I was paying it off little by little. I ended up selling like my boats, my cars, my motorcycles, even some of my shop equipment because I wanted to own that car outright. But I figured once I pay it off, I'll just take the title and go down to my local bank and borrow the money against it. Well, I paid it off for my flooring line. They gave me the title and I read export only. Now, back then, like I said, there was no computer screens on these U-Haul trucks they used to drive through and do the auctions with. And I didn't hear any announcements for export only. So I ended up bidding $65,000 for a car that I legally couldn't drive on the road or register. I was upset. I was freaking out. I didn't know what to do. And so I ended up driving that car for over 2 years with a dealer plate because I was trying to sell it. Nobody wanted to buy it. And I was just kind of frustrated. So I just kept the car and I drove it everywhere. And it was my daily driver. I absolutely loved driving that car. It was such a blast to own. But, eventually I had to put it up for sale. So I figured, I'm going to run it back on Copart because this will probably be the easiest thing to do. So I took a bunch of pictures, ran it online, and I winded up getting almost $70,000 for the car 2 years later. So I was ecstatic. I'm like, wow, I go, who would pay this much money for a car that's export only that you cannot register in the United States? So the guy came from California and he came to pick up the car. I handed him the keys and I was like, well, congratulations on the car. It's a great car. I've been driving it for 2 years. I love the car. And he's like, yeah, I got a customer. He's going to pay me almost double for the car. I'm going to make a bunch of money. So then I asked him, I was like, well, how are you going to register the car? He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, this car is export only title. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, this is an export only car. Like you cannot register it in the United States. Did you not read the Copart ad? And he starts like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Are you trying to screw me over? And I'm like, no, it was all written on the ad. I did the same thing. I bought the car, not seeing the export part. And so that's why I drove around for 2 years. I thought you did the same thing. And he's like, no, I didn't know. He's like, I want to get out of the car. And I told him, I was like, well, you bought it, the auction. It's up to them. If they want to release it, it's up to them. And wind it up, they did not do it. He bought it and he owned it 100%. He tried getting out of it 3 or 4 times, but they forced him to either buy it or take it off. And so that car ended up leaving. But that's another case of not paying attention and reading the actual description. And if you can see, a lot of my problems came from me getting excited, wanting to bid on a car or thinking I'm going to get a good deal without taking the time to do the research. And I think that's the biggest problem. If you watched my last video of me talking about some of the issues and problems that I was having with buying cars and getting screwed over on a few, that's usually where it comes from, is being too excited or not doing your due diligence on the vehicle. A lot of these Copart videos, you hear these people like crying, I lost money, Copart sucks, or I bought this car, it's crap. 90% of that is because they did not take the time to do the research. That's why now, before I buy a car, I run the VIN, I check Google, I check the parts, I check everything just to make sure that I'm not going to have those exact problems like I did before. Now, hopefully you listen to some of these stories, you'll realize that, like I said, you can get good deals at Copart and some of these other auctions, but you always want to be careful and kind of think about what you're doing. Now, when my site goes live, Auto Auction Pass, which you guys got to sign up for, link down below if you guys want to buy cars through my dealer's license through Copart and IAA. But I'm going to have a screen on there where you can actually run a Carfax, you can run a market report, you can know exactly if this car is a good deal or not. And it also will tell you all the things you need to stay away from on some of those things. We're going to have a bunch of really great how-to videos explaining on which cars to stay away from, explaining the titles, because I've seen a lot of these other sites that allow you to buy on Copart, but they will not tell you to stay away from export only or junk titles. They think that everything is fine. They buy that car and then they find out they can't register it. So we're going to try to help educate a few of you guys along with pointing you guys in the right direction when you're buying cars. Anyways, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Huge shout out to Revenued for sponsoring the video. These guys have been great. Like I said, make sure you check them out. Link down below if you guys want to take 15 minutes to apply. Also, check out Auto Auction Pass. Link is also down in the description below, and we'll see you next video.